Hi everyone, Katarina here. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I challenged myself to make beautiful cards in a little less time than I've been making my cards in. Sometimes I spend 5, 6, even more hours on some of the cards that I make. So this time I wanted to come up with something that is a little bit quicker, however, just as beautiful. And I think this turned out absolutely stunning. Both of my kids have been invited to birthday parties, and I had to make a card for them each. So this is what I came up with. There's a lot of shine and a lot of sparkle on this. So I really hope you will enjoy today's tutorial. The card that I will be making will be used exactly the same products. I will just change up the colors here and there just to have it a bit different. So the card base measures 4 by 8 1/4, and I cut a piece of cardstock to 8 by 8 1/4, scored line in the middle on the 8-inch side. The holographic piece of cardstock measures 8 by 3 3/4, and it will be layered right on top of the card base. The pattern paper is 7 3/4 by 3.5, and it is from this gorgeous design paper pad, Beautiful Bouquets from Croix Creative Cards. Before I glue this on, this is quite optional. You can save time in here again if you don't want to edge up, but I love adding a little bit of a glitter using a chisel tip pen and this lovely iridescent glitter. It's Crystalina from Croix Creative Cards again. So I am going to layer all these on top of each other. I have added double-sided tape to this piece because I'm layering it on top of a mirror cardstock, and I think it's just safest to do it this way. And of course I use a little bit of a quick grab liquid glue because that gives me a little bit of a wriggle room to make sure it's layered up nicely and perfectly. Using my collal glue, I'm adding this layer on top of the card base. For this next layer, I took a white piece of cardstock that measures a 7 1/4 by 3 inches, and also another piece of white cardstock, into which I cut down with this lovely leafy lace border from Chloe's Creative Cards. You can use any border die that you may have. This is just very new to my stash, and I was quite excited to give it a go. I haven't used it before now. I didn't use the edge dies. I just cut the middle out of cardstock and cut it down to the same size as my white piece of cardstock, 7 1/4 by 3 inches. Now I'm taking this solid piece of cardstock and some Distress Oxide inks, which are the Mustard Seed, Wilted Violet, and a Picked Raspberry. And I'm going to lay this quite heavy onto this piece of cardstock. You can go with less color on this. I wanted this to be nice and colorful. I'm not focusing on ink blending in here, just kind of making sure the purple and the yellow don't mix too much so I don't get like muddy color in there. But otherwise I'm just laying this down as heavy as I can all over that piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to give it a quick heat with my heat tool. It's because I'm going to be covering this in glitter. To do that, I need to cover it in double-sided tape. Now, this is optional. Of course, you don't have to do this bit, but I just like to add glitter. And I ran out of the double-sided sheets that I have, which would have been much quicker, so I had to go ahead and use my double-sided tape. Once it is all covered, I'm just going to add this leafy lace detail on top of this. You can see how gorgeous this would be already, even if you didn't cover it in double-sided tape for the glitter to go on. It would already make a beautiful background or a detail to your card. So I'm just cutting away the bits that that were overhanging in there. And now, because everything that's colorful in there is exposed as sticky from the double-sided tape, so I'm going to cover this in the Crystalina glitter again. It is going to add a gorgeous shine. And now Crystalina is translucent glitter. It means that you will still be able to see all that lovely color shining through, but it will be just really nice and super sparkly. I love glitter, and I didn't think that making a simpler card would be really my make if I didn't add a little bit of a sparkle to it. So I absolutely adore this. Just high gorgeous. But as I said, optional, and you don't have to do this step at all. It would, I promise you, still make a really nice and beautiful card. To layer this on top of my card, I was considering using foam tape or a bit of a chipboard at the back for added dimension, but then I opted for collal glue. it is already 2 layers of heavyweight cardstock in there, so it already adds a bit of a dimension to it. Plus, I will be further decorating this card, so I thought a collal glue was just perfect. Just making sure it's nice and centered in there. And we will be decorating this card now, my favorite part. Okay, so there are a couple of strips of cardstock which didn't really show there, but it is from the pastel card paper pack from Art Studio, from the range. And for the first card I used this lovely pink pastel color. For this one, however, I will be using the lilac-y one, and you will see it more now when I'm doing this than you saw me showing on that first card. So I've cut 2 strips of that lilac-y cardstock to 1/4 of an inch in width, and one of them I cut to 1/8 of an inch, which I will be using my quick grab glue to apply all of these below and above that lacy detail onto that white cardstock. Just making sure all these pieces are glued on nice and straight, and once the glue had set, I'm just going to take my scissors and cut away all the overhanging bits of strips at the end there. Tidying up the edge of my cardstock, this bit is done. We can move on to the next part of decorating. I have these very thin, about 1/16 of an inch in width, holographic silver peel-offs in my stash, which I've had for such a long time, and I just kept forgetting about them until I was reminded very recently. In one of my latest card makes, I already used some of these. So I'm adding 5 strips to this card, 2 on each of the 1/4 of an inch of a lilac-y card strip and 1 on the thinner ones. Then I just add them a good press with my bone folder to make sure they are nice and stuck. For the sentiment for the front of the card, I will be using the Tiny Tag and Sentiment plaque stamp and die set from Chloe's. And the plaque comes with 2 separate dies. The larger one I've cut out of that lilac-y cardstock, and the smaller one from plain white heavyweight cardstock, and I just heat embossed the happy birthday using metallic rich silver embossing powder by Wow. I will layer this on top of each other, but first I want to prepare the insert bit for my card, which I heat emboss with the silver embossing powder, this gorgeous greeting, which says, "A greeting on your birthday for a very happy day and then a year that brings the best of everything your way. Enjoy your special day." And this is from Chloe's Creative Cards, the Happy Birthday Frame stamp set. I've applied double-sided tape to the back of it because when I heat set it, the cardstock warped a bit, and I want to make sure that this will be laying nice and flat on the inside of my cardstock. So here I'm just removing the backing of those tapes, and now just adding it in the middle. This cardstock, by the way, measures 8 by 3 3/4 of an inch. And now all I have to do is to decorate the front of my card. Using my quick grab glue, I'm layering these little plaques on top of each other. And I'm going to use double-sided foam pads to apply this to my card. I thought it needed that little bit of a dimension because once I make my butterflies, those will have a little bit of lifted up wings. So I thought this one was nice, just sitting at a little bit of a dimension. To make my butterflies, I'm using this gorgeous die set from Hunky Dory Moonstone. Now, I've had this for quite a while now. I'm not sure if it's still available, but it has 10 dies in it, 5 large detailed butterflies, 3 smaller ones, and 1 of each has an outline die as well. For this card, I chose 2 of the smaller dies for the butterflies and the outline, which I will be cutting out of vellum. For the detailed butterfly dies, I'm going to make my own colored cardstock using exactly the same Distress Oxide inks I used before. In here, I'm going with picked raspberry and mustard seed for this card, and I'm just adding enough ink to make sure that the die, it will cover up enough for the die to fit on. So once I've applied enough ink there, I'm going to make sure that this is nice and dry. So I use my heat tool here to dry this, because once I send this through my die cutting machine, I don't want it to rip. I want nice sharp cuts on all those lovely details of the butterfly wings. So I'm just going to tape this die onto my cardstock, and I'm going to use vellum for the outline die, and I'm going to send this through my die cutting machine. Once they are nice and cut, I'm going to add a tiny bit of a glue onto the middle of the vellum and then the middle of the detailed butterfly and glue them on top of each other. This acrylic glue from Cosmic Shimmer is nice and strong, so I'm sure they will stay put in there. I'm taking some of these lovely blinks, jewels from Chloe's Creative Cards, one of her bling boxes, and I'm choosing pink ones for these, one of the large, one of the middle, and one of the smallest size on the top right corner, and the same on the bottom left. And this is it. Our lovely shiny sparkly butterfly card is ready. Loads of room in the inside of the card to write some extra message if you wish. And they are the two stunning cards, both on screen, one that I made before off camera and one that you just saw me make. I am so delighted with how this turned out. I definitely managed to reduce some of the time that I normally spend on card making, but it did not compromise on the beauty, on the sparkle and the shine, on all the added details. I think they both turned out absolutely beautiful. And if you too like today's cards, please give me the thumbs up, and if you haven't yet done so, consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell so you would get notified anytime I upload new videos, tutorials, project shares. I will be back very soon with another lovely video. Until then, bye!